One of the things that I love about watching Mero is you kind of see his thought process play out all the time. So straight away, his thought process is, I want to go get a Parasite because they're broken. Parasites help him with W-Keying because it essentially acts as a helmet. You can't get cranked for a serious headshot at any point in time if you're getting up close and personal, which as a controller player, that's what he does best. He's also obviously seen there's a llama over here, so straight away, that's another one of his priorities as he gets over here and picks that up. So straight away, he's got max mats, he's got a chug cannon, he's got a Parasite. Now all he needs to do is look to upgrade his loot and make good rotations for the rest of the game, and he's set. One of the things that I really liked about watching this game as well was you can see how he prioritizes things going into late game and how late game was his priority here. Early on in the lobby, here he's happy to take a fight because this is one of the W key games. If I give you a bit more context behind what this game looked like, you can see that he finished at 8:09, which means that he probably went into this game at around quarter 2, so 15 minutes before games were set to finish. If he died here, this wasn't a bad thing. So he's happy to push off spawn here after 5 minutes because he's still got 10 minutes to queue into the last game if he needs to. Ideally, I'm always a fan of playing this game out because it essentially means that you get some free placement, and in solo cash cups, that's what delivers you the most points. As you can see here, he obviously has a good thought process because he's able to stop, control himself. He's not going to overforce a fight that he probably would end up winning, but it's still a fight that he doesn't need to take, waste loot, waste mats, and potentially have his Parasite broken over. So dropping the thought process of let's get in and kill this guy, I really, really like. And I think it goes to show a level of maturity from Mero that you don't usually see from controller players because they're used to being able to do so much damage in the box so quickly that those are the fights they really, really like to push. So going into the early portion of mid-game here, we can see he's got a chug cannon, a launch pad, a blue pump, lots of ammo, you just can't see it. He's got super easy rotations with the car, with the Parasite if he needs to do it on foot. He's also got the chug cannon to basically tank infinite damage on his way to zone. And he's got the right thought process behind the way he looks for kills or looks to initiate into his fights. So this guy pads away from him, and again, we've got a situation where he's hit the guy for 30 white, and you could push this. But Mero, again, me really liking his thought process here, pulls back and says, I don't need to chase that, I don't need to fight that. I'm going to play this game out. He's now 8 minutes into queue, which means he's probably got around 7 minutes left of queuing, maybe a little bit less, maybe more like 5. So this is definitely a time where he needs to pull back and say, I'm going to play placement here. This is a game that I've got to play out. So he jumps into his car, and he does the solo cash cup classic. He goes and finds a big rock, boxes himself and his car up on a big rock, and he waits for the next zone to pop. Generally, I like people to do this closer to the edge of zone, closer to dead side, just because in a situation like here, he might be getting keyed by anyone around here who doesn't have any games left and they've got no chance of placing. He doesn't get keyed because he's only 39 alive. And he essentially looks to do the same thing but without the rock. He gets himself up into a really, really good position where if someone wants to come and key him, he's got to do it on top of a big hill here where everyone can see them. Puts himself in the best spot in the lobby for the time being. Highest mountain on the center part of zone. So any rotation to third's going to be super easy. Plus he's got his car, which is going to make it even easier. And if the car gets taken out for some reason, he's also got the Parasite. So again, doing the solo cash cup classic, boxing up on a position of power or on some brick or some rock on dead side, waiting for next zone to pop, being super patient, and going from there. So again, the idea of the car just being super powerful essentially drives it straight to center third. By being in central third, he guarantees himself fourth zone, or if he does have to rotate to fourth zone, it's very minimal, and from here he can essentially sit, wait for the next zone to pop, and make a super easy rotation, or sit and wait for half-half to pop. So again, more Cash Cup Classics, sit, wait, and this is also a time where you can be a little bit of a dickhead as well. This is a time where you can look to try and get someone focused. We're now in a position, we're now in a zone where you can try and get someone to focus because the lobby is small enough. It's small enough for someone to start getting focused. So this guy takes a little bit of damage, and Mero putting some pressure on and constantly dropping another clip into him. You can see there, looks at this guy, basically asking him to shoot with him, starts to put a bit of pressure on, and that little bit of pressure draws another guy to put on some fire. We've got this guy in a 4-way pinch, and he goes down very easily. Mero doesn't get the kill, but he essentially, because he's so close to the guy, he can pick up his extra loot. With him being central third, he now has a bunch of mats where he can tap into fourth zone if he doesn't pull it just enough. He can also tap into a half-half later stage, and of course he gets a refresh on all of his existing mats, and he gets any upgrades that there might have been, so he does pick up a spaz as well. So sometimes you do have to have a bit of luck go your way. He gets half-half pulling directly on top of him, but I would argue that his rotation to the next zone would not be difficult whatsoever. He'd maybe use 200, 300 mats, but it would have been fairly easy for him. Now playing a little bit of peekaboo here with polarized, essentially just showing off some edits, some pre-fires, looking to pre-fire or anything like that. Very confident, as you can see. Really, really happy to look to take these sorts of fights. And you can see here, he even stands off with polarized at one point, saying, yeah, take the edit, putting polarized under a little bit of pressure and making him question if this fight's the right fight to take. Just some absolutely huge nuts on the guy. Really, really confident in what he's doing. Paul's first moving, but that wasn't RNG going in his favor. That's RNG going in the favor of everyone in the lobby. As you can see, everyone in the lobby essentially pulled first moving. Already starting to look at height, and that there, probably the one lucky thing that does go his way is he wins basically a full 50-50 with polarized, but it's not luck that this guy hits 140s minimum. This guy is one of the best aimers in the world, and of course everyone talks about aim assist, but this guy hits really, really, really hard. Gets himself out of that box really nicely. Good priorities to ensure that he's staying alive here through late game and not trying to 50-50. So one of the really impressive things that he's about to do here is listen for refreshes or for impact kills with his ears. He's not looking for them, but listening for them. So he hears some pressure going on back zone and immediately looks to put pressure on the guys who are in the most vulnerable state in the lobby, so the people playing in zone. Picks up 2 easy kills, and then as zone pulls, he does find himself in a situation here where he maybe shouldn't have been as aggro as he is on this guy, but his pump doesn't shoot in that scenario, and he's forced to basically back out. And from here, he gets a quick short pad off, boxes up, and heals up. So really good priorities to really get out of that situation, and then find himself to front zone as zone keeps on moving, clears layers, gets himself out of layer congestion to create a layer of his own after being caught up in all of that congestion. That's a lot easier to do in these less stacked lobbies, so that has to be said. However, you can see the priorities of getting himself out of those awkward scenarios where there's 3 or 4 people directly in front of you. So he's got 300 builds here, and even with 300 builds, he's still looking to play off old builds, which is really, really good. Still looking to try and find a way to conserve materials as he pulls himself over to dead side here, right onto an edge. And from here, he's going to look to try and find that refresh. 150 mats, and look at the way he's being super aggro here. All of the builds that he owns in this tarp here make it really easy for him to patrol for a refresh that he needs. His thought switches from how can I look to find the refresh that I need to win this game to how can I find high ground to win this game. Find some really nice piece there. Easily kills that guy, and from here, he's fully refreshed, he's got good mats, he's got height. This is his game to lose. So the really important things there, the really important thing there to notice was the prioritization he had on certain things at certain moments. The refresh he absolutely needed to win the game, that was all he was focusing on there for a good 30 seconds. When he found it, his thought process immediately switched from, okay, how am I going to get this refresh, to how am I going to find height so that I can win this game. Immediately tapped ahead, looked at height, saw that they were fighting, and took it really easily. From there, it was just all about pressure and making sure that he won his ones, but he had so many mats left at this stage that I doubt the other guy could really contend with him. So as we 4x this out, it's essentially him just winning a heal off with with a full chug splash. Super, super easy for him. Made it look so easy to win the game that got him second in the cash cup. Only just missing out on winning it.